there's no time pressure. My name's Anissa. I work up in Whistler. I work at the core. Tony and I got online today, and he has a presentation that's really great for people who need to get out the next 90 days. So I said, hey, please, can you share that with everybody? We used to, before my kids graduated, before each of us had 3 to 5 grandchildren, we used to do LinkedIn and sales seminars together. So it was like, let's get the band back together.
We're hitting the road, right?
Well, we're hitting the airways anyway. And just see how we can help people out. He does a 3-month coaching program. I work at the gym up here, but I also do mastermind groups, and I have an online network that I try to assist business owners as well. So what are you finding right now, Morgan, that's your biggest challenge? Obviously.
Actually, I'm here not just for my personal challenge, but I was hoping to extend some support and help to local businesses. Because we're finding in my industry right now, we're getting a lot of gym owners coming to us wanting to lease gym equipment, because now's the time for them to upgrade their facility when no one's coming in. So they want to get new treadmills and new equipment in, and we do everything from the computer system, the alarm systems, everything like that. And we're actually, so I work for GL Leasing, which is a subsidiary of Grenke Leasing. Now Grenke is huge in Europe. And we started in 1978 in Baden-Baden, Germany. And we were leasing mobile phones back then, the big bricks. And found out that that's a great business, because every 3 years, nobody wants a big brick anymore because innovation cycles are so short. And so now we branch into all this other equipment. After 41 years, we're in 35 countries, over 2,000 employees globally. And we're just starting off in Western Canada. And yeah, we're finding it great here. So
that's awesome. Yeah, we're finding as the gym is closed right now, so many people want to rent our equipment off of us. It's really interesting. But obviously, I mean, we're just into this whole pattern right now, and just seeing what we, before we make that leap, we're taking our time. And
Morgan, I have a question. Does your company get involved in like buyback leasing of, say, if a company has some equipment and they want to get cash for it, where they could sell it to your leasing company, then lease it back? Do you do like any lease buybacks at all?
So you're talking about lease backs, and we don't do those. No.
Okay.
So we really like to only deal with brand new equipment.
Yeah.
And nothing transportation. We don't like to do trucks and stuff like that, but we will do trailers. So, but if it's a motorized vehicle, we won't lease that.
Okay.
But yeah, good question. Because there is, if that is something you're after, I've got some resources that can help you out as well.
Well, it's just that it could be a way for some business owners, companies that are highly capitalized, to maybe turn some of their equipment back into cash, especially to get through this, the next 90 to 3 to 6 months, let's say, and lease it back over a few years and give them some relief. So.
No, absolutely, getting some capital available and stuff like that. So that being said, our head office in Germany has given us the right to offer up no payments for 9 months right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so we even advertise it now, no payments till January 1st, 2021. And by then, hopefully this is all done. But as far as the lease backs go, a lot of leasing companies don't like to do those, because if someone's looking to do that, put cash on a piece of their own equipment, means that they're having difficulty and therefore they're higher risk, right?
For sure. Yeah.
So, but I do have some resources that can help with that if need be.
Okay.
So just reach out. Yeah.
Don't mind me, guys. I'm just connecting people on this side here. So
Okay.
I'm just working away and answering emails to get people online here with us, because there's some people who are having some challenges, and I forgot to share it on Facebook, like I said I would. So. Got so excited to see Tony, and he's got his whole new. Show him your lighting system, which is so cool.
Oh, well, yeah, until a few minutes ago, my lighting was a little yellow, so I forgot I've had this here for a while. I was sitting in the corner of my office, so I just set it up now. I'm like a real professional studio here.
Yeah. Yeah, my lighting might change as I'm by the window and sun is setting.
Yeah, no, it's kind of, I'm in Langley, BC here, so it's pretty well dusky now here.
Yeah. What part of Langley?
Walnut Grove.
Oh, nice. I know it well. Yeah, I grew up in North Delta.
Virginia, okay, go there. Yeah, it's good. Been there for 24 years now in this area. So
A lot of changes.
yeah, Langley is a lot of changes, and it's changing as we speak. Especially just south of the highway in Willoughby, there's literally thousands of homes being built all the time at this point. I think there's at least 10,000 more people, if not more, 10,000 more people in Willoughby than there was probably 5 years ago. Yeah.
Hi, Kath.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good. I forgot to add us on Facebook, so we've got a few other people just waiting to show up. So,
Okay, not a problem.
and of course, Facebook, as usual, has something new and amazing. They're like, "Do you want to do a broadcasters blah blah blah?" And it's like, ah, crap. As Tony knows, because him and I used to do, we used to teach LinkedIn, and he used to do sales. I teach LinkedIn, he do sales. And I'm like, I'm never teaching Facebook because you never know what is going to show up tomorrow and what you need, because it's like, oh, it's insane. I used to teach, I used to go to Facebook seminars, and the guy at the front would be teaching you something that I had access to, but maybe the next person didn't, because depending on how long you've been on Facebook, you wouldn't have access to the new tool. I had this lady who, she called me, she's like, I can't get on Facebook Live. I'm like, it'll roll out, don't worry, you haven't been on Facebook as long as everybody else, and she's like, I'm gonna go down to the iPhone store, the Apple store. I'm like, just be patient, it'll show up. Hi, Anne, we can't see you. Are you gonna show us your face?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Or a photo or something. What's your business, Anne?
I run Clearly Accounting. It's a small bookkeeping firm.
Oh, you must have everyone just in a panic right now.
Yeah, not really. I'm trying to gather as much information as I can so that I can pass it on to my clients.
Awesome. Well, first thing I want to do is introduce Kathy as well. She's one of my coaching clients, and she's a local realtor here in Whistler. I live and work in Whistler, and then I also have a live event. My name's Anissa, in Vancouver, called the Ladies Meeting, and an online group. The Ladies Meeting meets for a small business group. We meet on the last Tuesday of every month, but also because we like guys too. We have the Entrepreneur Collective online, so we don't discriminate as well.
You're inclusive.
Oh, very inclusive. You can't come to the Ladies Meeting luncheon because we like to talk about all of you, but and Kathy's a local realtor, and she's had some real successes in the last little while, but also I think, in my opinion, set up some of her marketing really well to get through things like this too. And then Tony and we met when I was, I think it was when I was with the Langley Chamber, possibly, which was quite a few years ago, when I helped build Eagle Wind RV Park. And we had 3 properties we were building at that time. And Tony and I were kind of advanced for our age. We were on LinkedIn and social media before most people, and got out there and started teaching it. So it was a lot of fun, and we had some really fun events as well. So he actually, because he's got a lot of experience in procurement and getting brick and mortar businesses going. I thought it was great that he's got some steps that we need to really all watch in the next 90 days. And he's got some really particular advice, I think, which is extremely crucial, especially, Anne, you'll probably see this as well with your clients, and Morgan, probably stuff that you can pass on to some of your clients because they're going to really need it. This is recorded, and we'll put it up in the Mighty Network, which is called the Entrepreneur Collective. So if you know people who want to watch this afterwards, I'm recording it so that we can take it and break it apart later and have conversations too. Kathy works at Angle & Voker. She often sponsors the Coffee House Meetup, which we do live and in person, and we have people from all around the world often that join us. And welcome back from England. How was it?
It was lovely. It was wonderful. And this was all starting to roll out as we flew back. So we got back on March the 16th, which was when it all really started to really lock down. The first advice that we got was get back to Canada from Justin Trudeau. And it really hit home. The only news that we got in England that was Justin's wife was in isolation. But other than that, most people in England didn't really know about COVID. They were in a moment of bliss and ignorance. And unfortunately now it's really coming home to roost. So our health protocols in Canada were very impressive as soon as we got home.
Yeah, I'm feeling rather proud of our, I guess our royal couple, that Justin and Sophie, and how they're handling things and leading by example by separating and keeping in their separate spaces. But more importantly, reaching out to the kids who are having to live in unsafe spaces right now today. I found that a huge, that was really important to me. My son's had 9 friends die from suicide and drugs since he graduated from high school. He's 23. And that was because of being brought up in an unsafe home. And a lot of those kids right now are stuck in those places. So the fact that they've brought Kids Helpline and things like that to the forefront is pretty cool. So
yeah, and I work with a seniors organization up here in Whistler, and to hear the other end of the spectrum, you know, for people who are living on the streets, seniors, all the vulnerable people in Canada, you know, that's what our society is all about. Let's take care of them, and because we can, let's do it. You know, yeah. And I've been very impressed with our local mayor here in Whistler, Dr. Bonnie Henry, Adrian Dix. I mean, this is new game. This is when you're a parliamentarian, not a politician, right? This is when we step forward into the plate and help people and learn online from each other. It's going to be, it'll be our world for the next while.
Yeah. And in that tone, it's why I've taken all our membership costs down as well, so that anybody can join the Entrepreneur Collective and Ladies Meeting and just come in and share any information I can glean from Tony. Plus I'm working in a retail space as well, so we are always looking to see how we can pay our staff and what's coming down the pipeline. And Tony in particular is going to show us some of the things that we can look forward to tomorrow. So Tony, I'm going to hand this over to you.
Oh, okay. Let me take a moment to share my screen.
And tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do as well.
Okay, I'll tell you, I got it in my presentation, so why don't I get there?
And tell us about your beard as well.
Okay, well, I'll talk about my beard in a second. So let's just do my view. There we go. Okay. What I'm going to cover here, probably in about 30 or 40 minutes, I want to just talk about some stuff. The title of this presentation is, you know, the 90-day survival plan for businesses. So it's the next 90 days are going to be crucial, and it's imperative that if businesses are going to be around and be able to take advantage of the recovery and flourish in the recovery, we have to all survive the crisis first. So I'm going to be talking a bit about self-care and taking care of ourselves. Putting this whole crisis in perspective in the big picture, a 5-point plan that I'm suggesting to all business owners to follow to give you a fighting chance, and again, not just a fighting chance, but a chance to not only survive the crisis, but flourish in the recovery. Then I have a bit of a special announcement later. So yeah, a bit more. So in this picture, first of all, you notice I don't have a beard or a beard growing. And I usually don't have a beard. I'll be honest, it's kind of driving me crazy right now.
I'm used to seeing you clean cut like this, big guy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what happened was when we all were told to start self-isolating about 2 weeks ago, you know, I kind of got lazy, didn't shave for a few days, and the growth was coming. And I got to thinking, you know, hockey, the NHL playoffs would have been coming, so it would have been time for playoff beards anyways. And I thought, you know what, I'm gonna let this grow out. It's gonna be a battle beard. It's a battle beard for business owners. So until we've been told that the crisis is officially over, I'm not shaving, and I'm wearing it for business owners who are really battling for their business lives right now. So that's why I got the beard.
And Morgan's ready too. I see that already.
Yeah, it's kind of like Movember, but you know, but for beards in April. So my own background is I had about a 25-year career in management and for various corporations, 2 different industries. I was a branch manager, or regional manager, looking after complete, like sort of general manager roles for Western Canada. Usually looked after sales from the $3 to $12 million range as a rule. Had as many as about 50 people under my wing. And what I realized after all those years, well, first of all, I was a manager for about 25 years. I started my own small business in Langley, a small water purification company. Did that for about 5 years. And what I realized is what I really loved about business wasn't the running it day to day. It was the analyzing, the strategizing, managing change, and also helping other people be successful. And I thought, well, what could I do that covers that? And so that's where it led me to business coaching. So I became certified 8 years ago through the Professional Business Coaches Alliance. And as well as last year, I wrote a book called Leaky Bucket Profits, got published last July. And in relation to the book, I've also got a podcast, a free podcast that's available through all the major platforms that really covers and kind of dives deep into each chapter in my book. And what you'll find is some of the content I talk about here actually comes right out of my book as well. But the one thing that we all need to acknowledge, now we've been into this for a couple of weeks now, so some of these emotions might have subsided, but some of them maybe not. And I know for the first couple of days, there's a sense of being overwhelmed, scared, stuck. The feelings: is this over? Is my business done? Am I going to survive this? And it's quite normal to feel those. And as leaders, we need to acknowledge those feelings. It's okay to feel them, but then we need to eventually deal with and move on from it. So it's and something that they just started talking about in the news today is about how depression is going to skyrocket now, around the world.
But I think that's one of my concerns is I've already seen people who are already kind of putting their head in the sand, and it's like, well, my website isn't ready for sales and things like that. And it's like, I've been bugging you for a year to get 10 products online.
Yeah.
Do something. So yeah. People are frozen. And the way I analogy I use for you might have remembered about over 20 years ago, there was a movie out there called Saving Private Ryan, and Tom Hanks was the star. And one of the first scenes of the movie is him and his troops land on the beach for D-Day. And as they land, the bullets are flying by them, the bombs are going off, his soldiers are dying all around him. And in the movie kind of freezes for a few seconds and focuses on Tom Hanks. And everything kind of goes quiet and muffled, and his face goes white, and he's frozen. He's trying to comprehend what's even going on here. And then a few seconds later, the sounds come back. He shakes it off and starts commanding his troops. I think a lot of people are feeling like that, except it being a few seconds in the movie. It's going on for days and maybe even weeks here. So we need to try to shake it off and be able to move forward. The one thing that on the top left-hand corner, I put that up there because we just talked about the depression. There are going to be people out there that think, this is it, I'm done. My business is done. I'm never going to dig out of this hole. And they're going to have some bad thoughts. So we need to acknowledge that there are people, and maybe there's people listening to this are feeling that way. I can only encourage you to get help. Call the Canadian Mental Health Association. Reach out to friends, spiritual leaders, professional help around. But we need to get through this because this isn't going to last forever, and we will dig out of it. I've been, I reached out to, I don't know if anyone knows Terrence Costelar. He runs Camp My Way. He assists first responders with PTSD. And we've been talking over the last couple of days because he was going to do a recording for me for the conference on Tuesday, which is just a small business conference online. And he had to pull out because he's getting so many people contacting him right now. Because he's busy. He's like, you cannot believe how people are reacting to this, because he's the guy you go to if you're stressed, right? So yeah.
Well, I'm trying to spend at least twice as much time as usual with my own clients, because they're feeling again unsure, and it's uncharted territory here. And especially as business owners and leaders, there's the 3 levels of leadership. There's lead yourself, lead others, and lead your organization. And the whole idea of the 3 levels is you can't be expected to be effective at leading others and your organization if you don't take care of yourself first. And that means, both mentally, emotionally, and physically as well.
Yeah, really good point.
But what we do want to do is we want to end up in a couple months looking like these people, right? Empowered, ready to go, energized, and they made it through. So trying to figure out what to do first, it's like, it's forest for the trees. You know, we're in the middle of a forest. You know, are the opportunities and the answers 200 feet to the right, 50 feet to the left, 10 feet ahead of us? We don't know where to go. So what we're trying to do, what I want to do in this presentation is be able to pull you above the trees so you can look down and start to see where some of those opportunities are in your business. And so when you go back down to the forest, you know exactly which direction you need to go and what you need to do. One of the things that creates a lot of stress and anxiety is when we feel we don't have control. So the whole idea is by pulling ourselves out and getting a 5-point plan going, we start to get control back because we have a plan and we have actions we can take. So let's just put this a little bit of perspective. This is Canada's economy over the last 60 years, you know, its gross domestic product. And one of the things you can see from the early 60s, you know, it grows nicely, it just wiggles along. But then there's just past 1980, there's quite a bit of a dip there. And for those of us who were in the workforce, I was just literally entering the workforce at that time. And I can tell you it was brutal. Those are the days of 10% unemployment, interest rates were 20%, inflation was over 10%, and this went on for a good couple of years. And that was a whole, honestly, we wondered when we ever get out of it. But eventually we did get out of it. The economy grew quite a bit again for probably almost another 10 years. Then we hit another dip, and it wasn't so great in the early 90s. We had a couple of slow years and there was a lot of trouble and bankruptcies were going on, but then it picked up and moved on from that. And then the economy kind of went quite nicely until that big dip you see just before 2013, which was at 2008, 2009. And that's a sharp, sudden dip. And again, a lot of us were in the workforce, or were in business when that was happening. Again, another brutal time. Unemployment skyrocket, bankruptcy skyrocket, both personally and commercially. And it's another hole we didn't think we'd get out of. But it did recover fairly quickly. It started to recover in 6 to 12 months, and then leading us up to now. So the point is, in the moment during these 3 times, it was pretty bad. But when you look at the 60-year timeline, it looks like a blip on the radar screen. And then we need to put that in perspective. In effect, when we're in middle of the big pile of crap right now, it feels like we're not going to get out of it, but we just got to keep digging and we will get out of it, because history's shown we get out of it every single time.
Great info, for sure.
And we can just blow that up a bit. So this is what one of those downturns look like. At the beginning, just where you see the first boom there, the economy was starting into a little bit of a recession. But you know, within a matter of weeks here, we're going to see the economy, you know, basically take a dive down. But keeping in mind, this is a man-made deep dive. It's not really natural economic forces. We're making this happen. But we got to understand it's probably going to be at least 90 days before we can start to think about recovery. It might happen sooner, but we need to plan for at least 90 days. So that's why I'm suggesting to business owners, you need to have a 90-day plan to ride this out. And if you can do that, you'll be well positioned to take advantage of the recovery. So one of the first things to do is do some cash planning. What I'm suggesting for business owners is do a 3-month cash flow analysis, especially for the next month, and understand where's your cash. Do you have cash coming in? Are you still going to be able to do sales? And at the same time, what is your outgoing cash going to be? Do you have to pay wages? Do you have rent? Do you have taxes to pay? You have utilities to pay. What are those expenses that you have to pay? And get a handle on what your bank account's going to look like at the end of each month. So that's what a cash flow analysis is done. We heard of profit and loss statements. That just tells you how much money you made over a period of time, but it doesn't tell you how much money you've got in the bank. A cash flow analysis tells you what you should have in the bank if you project it correctly. So what I'm suggesting is do as detailed one as you can to get to the end of April, and do some estimating for May and June. And then when you hit the end of April, do a detailed one for May, but also try to predict what's going to happen in June and July. And then do a few different scenarios. So it depends on the business you're in. Right now, what I'm finding is, unless you're in the grocery trade or a healthcare industry or an industry that supports those industries directly, there's a very good chance you may start to be seeing your sales go down.
Well, we saw a change today here in Whistler. The grocery store in the middle of town actually shut down.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, so, I think unexpected things still could happen.
So I'm suggesting at least, try three different scenarios and see what that looks like for your business. What does it look like if your sales are down 30%, 50, 75, and as you mentioned, 100%, where you have no cash coming in? What are some of the responsibilities and obligations you have? So it's important to know where you're at now, and then start working on this 5-point plan that I'm talking about. So the 5-point plan includes: take advantage of the government programs that are available to you. If you have accounts receivable in your business, try to collect as much as you can, and I'll be getting into more detail about each of these. Find ways to generate revenue, or if not revenue, cash, and I'll talk about what that means in a couple of minutes. Also, work with your vendors, lenders, and I'm also going to say landlords in there as well. And also your idle assets, and I'll talk about what that means, but have a plan, or at least acknowledge what your idle assets are, and we'll talk about in a moment here. So the first thing are government programs. Now, keeping in mind, this is changing fast. I did this similar webinar last Wednesday, and literally as I was doing the webinar, the federal government was announcing a whole different program. They almost trashed everything they announced a week or two earlier and started over again. So this reflects some of those changes, but there's a good chance some of this is going to change in the next couple of days, because they're always announcing, they're adjusting it all the time right now until they kind of figure it out.
And I work for someone who literally gets up in the morning. As much as I do business coaching, I also work at the gym, and she gets up in the morning, she's listening for what is going on and how she's going to get help.
Yeah.
And I talked to someone this week who's like, oh, I don't have time for that. I don't know. It's stressing me out. And it's like, I'm having to lay everybody off, and she's not taking the time to look at what's available.
Yeah.
And to look at it daily, because it is changing daily. It is getting better daily. And I love that you're going to break some of this down for us, and that people can reach out to you because you're staying on top of it.
Okay, yeah. So here's kind of where it's at is what was announced on Wednesday, this past Wednesday on the 25th of March
Sunday
was
today, just in case anyone's listening to this in the future. We're all losing track of days right now.
So this is where it's at right now. The federal government announced they're going to support small businesses with a wage subsidy of 75% of wages. So what that means, what that means is over a 3-month period, a maximum of $1,375 per employee, or $25,000 maximum for the employer. Now, there's a good chance that these maximums are going to change, because those are maximums that were based when it was previously at 10% of the payroll. So now it's 75, so that's probably going to have to change. But that could be a really valuable tool that helps a lot of small business owners keep their staff on the payroll. Because one of the things that no business owner really wants to lay off their people, and because when it comes back, you kind of want your people back. You don't want them out there looking for a job on this. So by keeping them on the payroll, what it does, it reduces a lot of stress for the employees, because now they feel like they're employed.
Well, and the cost of training is huge.
Yeah, so it's a big difference. So there might be some changes. The qualifier, I believe it's going to be like for corporations that qualify for the small business deduction. So if you're incorporated, look under your T2 for the small business deduction. And if you had one for 2019, you're probably going to qualify for this. But there's some details, a lot of details to come on this. Something else that just got announced too on the 25th is up to $40,000 of line of credit that are being offered to the various banks, and the government's doing this in partnership with the banks and guaranteeing those loans and that type of thing. So they're giving up to $40,000 line of credit, but something that's interesting that they haven't given all the details on yet is if other conditions are met, they will forgive up to $10,000 of the line of credit. So it becomes almost like a grant, but we're not quite sure that's going to work yet. So we'll find out more probably as we hit towards the April 1st. Under my understanding too is that companies, they need to have a payroll already between $50,000 to $1 million. So this is meant to help the smaller businesses. So what else is being offered is to help the worker, which in effect can help the business owner as well if they need it. Because if the business owner does have to temporarily lay off some employees to meet their cash flow demands, at least they know that the employees are being reasonably well taken care of as best we can expect.
Well, and I think what is the threshold to be called a small business in BC? I think it's 50 to 100,000.
For sales or?
Well, I know like the term small business, people often don't truly understand what that means.
Oh, okay, yeah. Typically, there's a bit of an issue. Well, 50 to 100 is like number of employees. What the federal government recognizes, CRA, is small businesses typically make $500,000 and less a year in profit. Right. So that can still be a pretty decent sized business in the big scheme thing. So this emergency response benefit, what was announced is now they're offering, this is for employees, $2,000 a month up to 4 months, retroactive to March 15th and can go up to October. So if somebody was let go on March 15th, they're going to be able to apply for this on April 6th. They can get retroactive pay back to the March 15th. Right. So this goes for anybody that's been, has to self-isolate or is quarantined, has to stay home because they're taking care of a sick family member. It includes parents that may not be able to work as school's out. So there's support for that as well. And
well, my daughter's husband got sent home for just like his smoker's cough from work. Oh. So
that's because of the COVID. He can, and they're asking because what they're asking you is to self-isolate for 2 weeks now. Mm-hmm. So he should be able to get the emergency response benefit. The one thing that this is applicable to is people that would not have otherwise been eligible for EI can also get this, including self-employed people. So there may be a lot of people listening to this that are self-employed. And if you're out of revenue, your clients you can't provide your service, or if your income has gone down enough, you can apply for this emergency benefit and get $2,000 a month for up to 4 months. Mm-hmm. Keeping in mind, you can't double dip. If you're doing business, you can't double dip. There's going to be probably a reconciliation that goes on down the road, because if you didn't lose $2,000 a month in revenue, but you're still going to get this grant, they may ask for some of that back. So keep that in mind. If you've lost $1,000 a month, you might be able to get this grant, but you'll get the $2,000 a month, but they may want $1,000 a month back.
And so is this going to? Do you have to be incorporated to get that or not?
No. You can get self-employed people.
Excellent. Because I know I just had a contract that they've paid 50% up front, and the other 50% of the contract, they're like, well, let's talk next Monday. I'm like, ah.
Well, that's what happens. So yeah, and that's what this is for. They're realizing there's a lot of people that just can't do their job, or else they're not going to have income. So this is to help with that. Something else too, if you owe any GST, they're deferring that till at least to the end of June so far. So if you have any, you can hold on to that cash for now if you really need it in the short term, but it's still eventually going to have to be paid. Now, if they find out this is going to go on longer than they think, my guess is they'll probably extend that June 30th deadline, but for now, they're going on June 30th. So there's also provincial support. And some people may be listening to this, perhaps outside of BC. A lot of the provinces are doing their own programs, but what the BC government announced is anybody that's qualified, you're going to get any of those emergency response benefits from the federal government will be eligible for a one-time $1,000 tax-free payment in May, but you have to apply for it. So if you're eligible for the EI or for the emergency response benefit side of things, you can also get the $1,000 one-time payment. So that gives you a bit of extra cash going into May. If you are carrying any student loans, that's being deferred. Those payments are being deferred till September. And in case, if you have some people that are renting and they can't pay their rent, the BC government passed a law that says you cannot be evicted because of the COVID crisis.
Well,
somebody was going to be evicted anyway.
We had all of our staff housing evicted here before that, and because mostly, if all of those young people here got sick, we have eight hospital beds, and they're still up partying. There was a party last night here in Whistler. So yeah, you know, they had to do some stuff before these laws came in to keep everyone safe. So it's such a hard balance, but that look, they're taking care of people.
So, yeah, so that's there to help protect as well. As well, provincially, they're deferring, you know, when you have to pay your PST, carbon tax, and for mostly for larger employers, you know, the health tax. One thing that's interesting though is the property tax. This is not a deferral, this is a cost reduction. So for commercial property taxes, they're reducing that, the 2020 property tax being reduced by 50%. So if you're leasing commercial property, you know, part of that rent includes paying, in your common charges, includes paying the commercial property tax. Your landlord's cost is going to be cut in half. That savings should also be passed on to you. So you may want to talk to your landlord about, when you talk about payments, as ensuring that you're getting the benefit of that property tax reduction.
Kathy, do you have any clients that that'll affect?
Possibly, yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's something to look into. And what I suggest to both, I'm not promising to be absolute experts on these plans. There's a lot more both are doing that I'm talking about. I'm giving some of the highlights. So what I just suggest doing is if you go to, you know, COVID emergency response, you know, Canadian government, and do the same search for, you know, the province of BC, Alberta, whichever province you're in, it's going to come up on your Google search, and go into the government site and just, you know, be sure you're aware of all the different tools that are available. I'm giving some highlights here, but I know there's even on the social side of things, the BC government's doing, you know, quite a bit of stuff to help, you know, with a wide range of people through this.
Well, and a lot of our clients, you know, they go through we always recommend that they work with a BC, you know, a Whistler specific accountant, lawyer, to get that advice as well. So
perfect. Yeah, get those details, because you know, there's a lot of talk about laying off staff, and I know some lawyers are out there saying, well, you know, everyone's got rights to deserve notice, and they're correct, but these are such extenuating circumstances. If a lot of small business had to give their 2 weeks notice, they would probably go bankrupt.
Yeah, well, up here in Whistler, we saw all of the restaurants literally with paper in the windows overnight, and all of that staff are, I don't know what they've done with them, but it's going to be a challenge.
So I think there's going to be a little bit of forgiveness here, because again, that's one of the reasons, by the way, that, you know, the government is making a lot of this stuff retroactive to March 15th, a lot of these benefits. But if some of these layoffs become permanent, then I do definitely believe that a lot of the labor standard laws are going to have to take effect, and they will eventually hold these people notice. But for now, this is such an emergency and a unique situation. I think right now there's at least a little bit of.
We've gone in the sea to sky from 50,000 people dropping in for the weekend to I saw 5 people in the village today.
Wow.
So, and that's going to take a long time to recover, from the mayor going, hey, welcome to our playground, to please don't visit us, to Explore BC saying explore BC later. You know, it's going to take a long time to get that message back out there.
Yeah, no, you're right, and that's why it's you know, even part of this 90-day plan, they might start lifting some of this stuff in 60 days, but yeah, it's going to probably take a quarter for things to start even looking like they're normal, but they won't even be normal yet.
Yeah.
All right. So if you're in a business that does have accounts receivable, you know, something that if you do give credit to your clients, you know, I call it the cash gap, and this diagram is squared out of my book, is from the day you supply that service or sell that product, and from the time you get paid by your customer, you've got probably other bills that are coming up in the meantime. You've got probably 1 or 2 payrolls. You've got some older vendor invoices that are due. Maybe the rent's due in between, you know, when you generated the invoice and you get paid. So I call that the cash gap. And one of the things, if you do have receivables, and I know there's going to be a lot of customers out there that just can't pay, you know, they're in the same boat as a lot of people, but you may have customers that can. So, you know, touch base with the customers, see who can pay, and just collect as much as you can, but get on the phone.
Even knowing, like talking to people and knowing whether they can or not, or when, is gonna, you know, at least you know where you stand.
Good point, because when it comes to that cash flow analysis I talked about, if somebody says, listen, I can't pay you in April, but I'm pretty sure I can pay you in May, then you can plan for that cash in May, but don't plan for it in April.
Well, and maybe you have to educate them on some of the stuff that we're learning about right now as well. There are people who are just so stressed that they can't learn right now. They can't go and reach out because the stress is so great. And so we're going to have to help educate each other to help bring the stress level down, and so that we can learn, because we all know when we're in high stress, we can't learn, we can't take in the information, because sometimes we're in, you know, in crisis, we're not learning. So we're going to have to teach each other,
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
And
that's what I'm hoping this 5-point plan does. It gives them it just gives them a template to work off of, right? You know, it gives them the actions they need to take and say, okay, now I know what to do. I'm not in the middle of that forest anymore.
Yeah. So there might be somebody that owes you money, but maybe you can give them one little tidbit that gets them going into creating their own income again. And we're going to have to help each other do that and work together as a provincial team to kickstart our own economy between us. And it's like, oh, you have some stock here, I have some stock here. What can we do with it? Let's trade, let's sell, let's put them together. Just like the car industries are making masks, they're taking the lemons you're going to show us later, and they're making some lemonade. And so we might have to help each other change our own mindsets with each other.
Yeah, and you're right. It's about being creative, and I'm going to talk about that, about the fact that we need to be creative. And as I go through the 5 points, I think some people listening to this that say, you know what, if I do that, maybe I can pay that bill. And keeping in mind is, I just talked about that line of credit. The whole idea too is providing that line of credit, or getting that line of credit from the bank, if that's a tool you think you need to use, will give you some of that cash available to pay some bills too, right? So that's what it's there for.
Mm-hmm.
So this is another diagram comes right out of my book, and this is really breaking down the business process that virtually every business goes through. And what it is when we make a sale, we've gotten contacts from customers, and something to be aware of is we have 3 types of customers. We have new customers, people that never dealt with us before, that found us for the first time. We have existing customers, and then we have past customers. So it all starts out with a contact. Somebody has called you, somebody sends you that email, somebody walks into your location, and something brought them there. And now they show some interest in what you have to offer. And then we have what's called the sales process, which is the converting that potential customer into an actual transaction. And every type of customer is going to have its own conversion rate. You know, an existing customer will probably convert a lot higher than somebody that didn't know you 2 days ago. So
and I think that for anyone who doesn't really understand the sales process, and you haven't had a coach like Tony, and he's going to make you an amazing offer at the end here that's totally free, doesn't cost you anything, take him up on it, because he's got experience in this area. And this is what we're all going to need to learn so deeply. And this very specific spot, if this is the only spot that I can show people here, we're going to need to learn this really well.
And by the way, you can get, in my podcast, I've got a whole chapter, I call it the Magic Profit Formula in the book. There's a whole episode just on this, how this works. So I'm going over this in about 3 minutes, but I spent 30 minutes talking about this in my podcast. So not only about this formula, but there's a whole podcast episode about marketing. There's a whole episode about this, how to sell and convert.
Well, maybe we can put the link. Maybe we can put the links to these once we get the recording done here. We can post the links to those to people that are watching. They'll be somewhere, as they say, below.
Okay, so sounds good. So what ends up happening is we all have, so when you have the number of transactions, then you have your average dollar sale, and that's an easy calculation. Whatever your sales were, let's say for 2019, and divide that by the number of invoices you created, that's your average dollar sale. So when you have your total transactions multiplied by your average dollar sale, that gives you your revenue. And then from there, you got your gross profit and gross profit percentage. So what a gross profit is gross profit, to calculate it, is your revenue minus your cost of goods sold. And the cost of goods sold are all those direct costs that are associated with making that sale. So if you're in the service business, it's the cost of labor to perform that service. It's the supplies you used to serve that customer. If you sold product, the cost of the product is part of that cost of goods sold. So when you have revenue, you minus your cost of goods sold, that gives you gross profit. And the percentage of your gross profit to sales, or to your revenue, is your gross profit percentage. We just sometimes call that gross margin, right? That's your gross margin. Gross margin is your percentage of revenue that is your gross profit. So once you kind of finish paying for all the stuff that you needed to serve the customer directly, then you've got what's called fixed costs, or we sometimes call it overhead. And these are stuff like rent, insurance, utilities, even office salaries, management salaries. Those are your fixed costs. So after you paid all this stuff, then you're going to have a net profit. So something to think about is when you're looking at your marketing strategies is what different strategies can you have for your 3 different types of customers? Because having one for all 3 isn't going to give you the same results of having a separate strategy for each. And also when it comes to what can you do to lower your cost of goods sold, and especially your fixed costs now, and because the more you can lower those costs, the more cash it's going to free up for it. So let's talk about generating revenue. We've all heard that saying, in tough times you got to learn how to make lemonade out of lemons. But what if you got delivered a whole truck of lemons? You can make lemonade out of that, but the market only needs so much lemonade. So now you got a lot of lemons that you need to do something with. You need to get creative. So maybe you can make lemon pie. Maybe you can turn these into a lemon cleaner. There's all kinds of different products from lemons. So it's about being innovative and finding ways to be relevant to your customers today. Because what you were doing in your business 2 or 3 weeks ago, depends on the business you're in, may not be relevant to your customers right now. For instance, if you're if you're at a hair salon, right now what you have to offer isn't relevant to customers. So what do you do about that? So we need to be innovative and find ways to make our business relevant today, and it could come in a few different ways, and I'll give you some examples. But utilize all your marketing tools. Hopefully you have your customer list, you've got email addresses, you got your social media, you got the old-fashioned phone you can pick up, and start reaching out and get your message out that if you're in business, that you're still serving clients, but also educate them on how you're doing it differently to protect their health or how to make it more convenient for them. One example is if you're in a service business and you can't serve customers, why not pre-sell and get cash? It's not about making sales right now, it's about generating cash. So I know a lot of service providers are having some really good success pre-selling gift cards and for a discount. You may want to discount a 75 card for $50 or a $100 card for $75. And so when things come back, people already have an automatic savings, but you've generated cash in the meantime.
I had a client, if you go back and listen to the Coffee House Network podcast we did, she has a wax spa. And so normally she's a service business, so she's got to have people in, but she can convert right now to teaching other people to do what she does. So there's an education process she can put into play and she can teach right now. So maybe she can't take care of clients right now, but she can teach her next generation right now. And maybe as we go into this new process, there's going to be training dollars available to do like what Sugared does. Sugared is a waxing company, and she went into training people and franchising. So you can be a single person and learn how to do waxing and start your own spa. So, it's a matter of what do you know right now that you can take and teach as well. Maybe that's going to be one of the things. Maybe your lemon is something that you can teach to 5 or 10 people that they can get funding for to learn. So it's a matter of take a look at what's in here too, not just the products that you've got.
This may force some businesses to have new product offerings that they didn't have before. And what we're really seeing is a lot of innovation going on right now in the society and the economy. We're seeing, for instance, we've probably heard the stories about beer and alcohol companies are turning and repurposing the byproduct into making hand sanitizers.
Well, and it's not sound because they still have to go through the process with the government to get all approved. They're not making it easy. Just like you heard on the news today that I guess Holland or somewhere got a bunch of bum masks from China that weren't any good. In Canada, they're not letting those companies switch their business around without going through the same process that they would have to normally. So if you want to convert from making beer to making sanitizers, it's still an alcoholic product, which is having to go through the government process, which is really interesting. So there's still going to be hurdles, even if you can make that process happen.
It's yeah, and the one things I'm finding though is hopefully the bureaucracy does work with business and realizes this is a fast moving machine we got going here.
Yep.
And they'll hopefully they'll
prioritize.
use some common sense, right?
Yeah,
But you know, we've heard about the car manufacturers repurposing their factories into to making respirators, and we talked about small business. I mentioned the gift cards, but a lot of small businesses are delivering their product. A lot of restaurants are keeping their doors. They're trying to keep alive. Like they can't have eat-in, but they're delivering. They're getting a lot more deliveries and takeout going. And sometimes I'm finding what they're doing is they're actually bypassing the branded delivery companies, and to keep their own people employed, they're delivering it themselves.
Well, and they've given permission from the liquor board for those restaurants to deliver alcohol as well, which normally they wouldn't be allowed to do in Canada.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's a good example of the government trying to work with people on, in extenuating circumstances. That's good to hear. Mm-hmm. And of course, online is, can your business be taken online to some degree? So I think we're going to see a lot of businesses, because a lot more people are buying online. So where a lot of businesses perhaps were procrastinating doing this, now all of a sudden this could turn into opportunity, where they may end up being a lot more in the online business.
Oh, we
so
got our online store up and running at the gym yesterday, and I was selling tension bands like within an hour.
Okay, there you go. So it does work, right?
Doors were open, people could pick it up.
And if you offer the online, again, use those marketing tools, use your mailing list, use your social media, get on the phone if you have to, let your customers know what you're up to. But think about being relevant. How can your business be relevant today to customers? Because what was relevant 2 or 3 weeks ago isn't necessarily relevant today. So we may have to make some adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
I talked earlier about if you haven't already, start communicating with your lenders, vendors, and landlords. So if you have lines of credit or loans with the banks have already made it pretty clear that you can pause or defer payments, loan payments. They're working with you on that to try to free up some other cash. Vendors are doing the same thing. Some vendors are saying, if you say to them, I can't pay my bill in April, what are they going to do? They're going to have to work with you. So you might be able to push some of that off. But again, I talked earlier about the banks are also, or not the banks, through the government, this $40,000 line of credit could actually help. But also talk to your landlords. I did talk about the fact that property taxes are going to be reduced, but if you can't pay your rent in April, tell your landlord. They know, everyone knows what's going on. There's a lot of businesses that are going to have trouble paying rent in the next couple of months. So talk to your landlord now, okay, how can we make this work? Can I pay half rent for a couple of months and then I'll pay the back later? Or can I defer my rent completely for a couple of months and then pay the rest back later? So
well, I've talked to 2 people this week who they're going to go from they know how hard it's going to be, and they're going to go from their 2 locations, which they worked so hard to achieve those as viable double locations, which makes them more viable as an entrepreneur, and they're going to go back to 1 location. And I listened to someone who went from their best quarter ever to shut because they're a body, again, another spa. So really challenging. Yeah.
So that's where getting these lines of credit will give them some cash to pay their rent. Or like I said, you have to deal with the vendors and landlords and work something out with them, because we're all in this. We really are all in this together. The landlords obviously know what's going on. The banks know what's going on. The only thing is, like I said, oil landlords have mortgages on their properties that they're renting out. So now they got to go to the bank and they say, bank, I can't make my mortgage payments for 3 months because my tenants can't pay their rent. Now, but what's happening now, what's going on behind the scenes, the Bank of Canada is doing a lot of work to basically backstop the private banks. They're doing everything from buying mortgages from them or giving them the cash flow they need to keep going too. So
they have a number
this is all kind of cascading all the way back up to the government.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? But make it part of your plans. And little story is I had a small distribution company back about 10, 12 years ago, and I made a really big sale to a big box company. That sale represented about 20%. That one sale represented 20% of my annual sales, and it was a huge amount of cash flow I needed. And I made the sale happen kind of on a bit of a shoestring, but I went 2 weeks with zero money in my business. My business had no money for 2 weeks. And what I did is I went to my vendors and I said, here's what's going on. I got this big check coming in a couple of weeks. Because I was open and honest with them and I had a good relationship with them, they all stood by me and everything was fine. Everyone got paid and we're all happy. So don't feel embarrassed if you have to go to your landlord or your vendor or your lender and say, listen, I need a hand here. I can guarantee you, even without the situation, business owners go through these things all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little thing about idle assets. If you are in a business that has inventory, what I have found when I do a lot of business reviews for businesses, and I find a lot of small businesses have anywhere from 20% to 50% too much of excess inventory in stock. A lot of times it's old inventory that, the new model came out and they didn't really feel like selling the old one, so it's in the corner of the warehouse. They kind of forget about it. There's a quarter inch of dust on it, but it's still money. Mm-hmm. Money comes in different forms, right? It's cash in hand. It's money in your bank account, but it's also your inventory on the shelf. The only problem is you can't take that box of inventory to your bank and deposit it. Mm-hmm. So you need to find a way to turn it back into cash.
Morgan, do you have any clients like that are leasing material from you that you see this in their warehouses?
Yeah, we're actually getting a lot of, I'd say 2 out of every 3 phone calls right now is customers looking to defer payments and things like that. And it's really tough because if we allowed everybody to defer their payments to us, then we would not be able to make any payments to our vendors as well. So it's a tough thing to balance, but we're all in this together. It's a tough fight.
Do you see many of them with products like idle assets sitting in their warehouses that they could use, but they just don't know how to move them?
Well, as far as inventory goes, or you mean just an asset they own?
Well, it could be either. Maybe an asset they're not using that could
I'm talking about inventory, but it also would include some capital items. That old forklift that's sitting in the corner because they bought a new one and they never bothered to sell the old one.
Yeah, and that's what really separates leasing from commercial finance, is when you lease it at the end of the term, it's almost best just to give the item back to the company so you don't have this item taking up square footage that could be making money, and just transfer it for a brand new item as well. You already know it's going to cost you X amount per month to operate that part of your business, and now it's just put into your hard cost. And people will come to me and say, well, I've got this old blade sitting here. Can I lease that back to myself? And we don't want to lease used equipment, especially if it's just an item sitting there collecting dust. It's a valuable asset.
Well, maybe it might be a good time for people that are in kind of your position to get on the phone and remind people they might have these assets sitting in the background, and to start selling them and getting them up there and sharing them, getting them back into the economy so they can pay. That's a great point. And I encourage my my client base that when they are getting a new item, to sell this old item that's taking up this square footage, because now it's an expense, not an asset to them. Yeah. And a lot of people don't see that. They want that but I own it mentality, but now you own something that's just sitting there. So get it out there and create some cash flow for the business, some operating capital through this tough time. And there might be people that you cannot approve to give new money to, but you know that someone else has that older product that maybe they could purchase at a really affordable rate, which helps you pay your bottom line and helps that customer offload something they don't have. So, I think absolutely, I'm in the we're definitely a service-oriented type business, and we like connecting people to people and business to business to help it all go around. I think we're gonna have to do that more than ever, especially in BC, to really, get everybody going and keep, help each other. It'll be cool. Absolutely.
There's actually there's a number of different industrial auction sites out there as well.
Yeah.
So
I've got one of my favorite spots when I was in construction was the industrial sites.
I have clients in the manufacturing business, and they've been buying equipment off auctions, manufacturing specialized equipment. So the thing is that this is the best time is to the motivation to do whatever you can to sell that equipment, or that old inventory. Think about it. If you got that inventory that's been sitting there for a year or two or more, usually quite often more, with that 1/4 inch of dust on it, that's a long time bought and paid for. Get what you can for it, because every dollar you get now for that old inventory has the same effect to your cash flow as 100% profit.
Absolutely. Yeah. And sorry, regards to your comment about the auctions, we actually use, so at the end of a lease term, and the customer says, you know what, no, I don't want this treadmill anymore. They send it back to us, and we send that off to auction as well.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with us. We would rather have a little bit of money from this old equipment that we don't want in our office and collecting dust. So yeah, it's just farm out the old and make some capital.
So now's the time to do it. A lot of people are sitting at home right now in self-isolation, painting their house because they want something to do. Well, here's a good thing for business owners that have a warehouse or a plant is keep busy by selling on, try to sell your excess, your idle assets as much as you can.
Absolutely. Everybody's looking for an opportunity at this point, and if they see an item they've been looking for at a reasonable price, grab it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and I think the word I would use is flow, because what we've been doing is we've been painting a little, and my dad always used to teach me, because I used to work in his office when we used to work for ICBC and litigation lawyers, and as soon as ICBC changes their policy, we'd go like, woo, and he'd be like, wash the walls, and so I've been painting the walls and then popping something up online, painting the walls and then adding a new thing to the store, because as of last week, we didn't even have an online store. So just create as much flow as you can in your business. You're going to need mental breaks because it's going to be a new way of thinking, but keep flowing, keep at it, keep doing a little bit different. Make some of those phone calls. We all know the word bite the head off the frog. There might be that landlord that you need to call. Make those little calls, and as Tony's next slide says, be a leader, but more importantly, be a leader to yourself and do the things that are uncomfortable. I'm wearing red lipstick. You have no idea how uncomfortable this is. But do things that make yourself uncomfortable that are going to help you flow in your business.
Yeah, and this is where you really need to be able to dig down. And I talked earlier about your own emotional state, mental health, and physical health are so important, because you need all those to be going for you to really be a strong leader. If you have employees, it's first of all, your employees are uneasy. They know that they may lose their job, or they are going to be losing their job, at least temporarily. It's important as a leader that you have a plan. Hopefully this 5-point plan gives you something to work with. You're going to have to be decisive and make decisions quickly. I've been involved in turnarounds with companies in the past, and what I found is the cycles speed up by 5 to 10 times. What you used to take a month to decide, you got to decide today now, or within the week. So you got to make quick decisions. Something that's really important though, once you have your plan, is delegate to your people and give them clear directions on what do they need to do to help your business get through the next 90 days. On a daily basis, what are the action items? What are the goals that they need to reach? Because everyone's going to need to dig down deep to get through this. Get them active, motivate them, but at the same time, be sure that they're being productive for you. And that really starts with you and being very clear on what you need to achieve and what their role is in doing that. Well, yeah, one last, just so my podcast, Leaky Bucket of Profits, if you need to dive a little bit deeper to some of the things I spoke about here, it's in that podcast, and I suggest listening to some of it, because you may get some ideas that I didn't talk about today. Like some of the things I spoke about here, I spent a half hour on each one of those topics. So
Awesome.
And so what I am offering for business owners is really 3 months of coaching support for free. I want business owners to make it through here. I want every business owner to be able to take advantage of the recovery. So what I'm offering for business owners is a free 60-minute strategy session to basically customize this 5-point plan to their business based on what their situation is. And then till the end of June, they can call me or email me anytime they want if they need questions answered or maybe some feedback on how they should move forward in certain decisions. Yeah. I'm absolutely happy to do that. And no obligations or expectations to do business or get paid. I just want to help out for the next 3 months. And then we'll see where hopefully everyone's ready for the recovery. And to do that, just send me an email at tony@empoweredbusiness.ca. And I'll send you a link back with a calendar link, and you can pick your time, and we'll set up our session.
Well, and thank you so much for doing that. I know that's part of what your coaching association, all of the coaches have to collectively bring everybody forward so that we can succeed as a province and as a country. So it's a huge gift to give that much of your time where you would normally charge probably like $120 an hour. I'm booked on my part. Tony's going to come to the online conference. I normally run an online meeting. A live meeting, which we're not going to be able to do. So it's turned into this online conference on Tuesday the 31st. And Tony has offered at 5 p.m. to come do the roundtable with me. And we're going to focus on similar topics to this. But also we're going to start in the morning with some experiences with meditation and yoga. And then we'll go into podcast training and some other business training and that. So thank you so much. We went over by 7 minutes, which I think is pretty amazing since we had a little bit of a rambling start. This recording will go into the Entrepreneur Collective, which is an online training app that it will be free for everybody. There'll be all the gateways to membership I've taken down because I don't think this is the time to try and make money off each other necessarily, and to get people started and get to know more people, because we're going to need to build teams to help rebuild, and then get really specific, know, like, and trust people, and know where you need to go after that, after the next 3 months, and then we can start getting the money flowing. And but understanding how much government is going to help us out is, I think we're in a truly unique country where we're getting this much support, unlike where we've seen in Brazil, where the mafia is at, or the gangs are actually helping instead of the government, and in Italy, where the mafia is seeing the opportunities. So the opportunity for us here is to A, support our government, B, help each other who are in small business.
Towards government?
Yep, support the government in helping them get the money out and flow to us, and just help each other out. It'll be amazing. And then also, again, just a reminder, like we said at the beginning, is to help the young people who are in some unsafe situations and keep them safe. So
Perfect.
awesome.
Sounds great.
So
Thank you.
we'll get this recording up into the Entrepreneur Collective, and thank you, Tony, for all of these steps. And then we will also, Tony's going to do a follow-up with us too on what comes available from the government tomorrow with the all the offerings that we talked about that they're putting up there for small business, incorporated business, and entrepreneurs. I mean, $2,000 a month for entrepreneurs, and knowing how to get it and being on the ball when those links come online available to acquire that cash back into our businesses. It's going to be amazing.
One thing, just to build on that, my understanding is to be able to get it quickly, you need to have that, My Service account with CRA. So if you don't have that set up, you need to get that set up. Otherwise it may be a long, drawn-out process to get your money. So
Okay.
I would get started on that right away, because the applications are going to start April 6th to start applying for all these benefits. So if you don't have your My Service Canada profile set up yet, then you need to get that going.
Yikes. Okay, I've had that and it's been a challenge. I've had it set up and then said, could you please just mail me stuff, because I couldn't get the email things sorted out with them. So yeah, that's going to be a challenge. So. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. It's 8:09. I appreciate your time tonight. Good to know a little bit more about your business. Morgan, maybe just text me a link to your website too, so we can, if we come across, any of us come across people that need leased equipment for their businesses, we'll be happy to send them your way.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Whatever we can do to help each other out here, I think is the goal. So.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Okay, have a great evening.
Meeting, and everyone's got my number. If you wanted to talk to me, give me a shout or send me a private message.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Bye.